It's the pop culture field, and you will.
I'm open, I'm vulnerable, I'm ready.
All right.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Pop Culture Field Radio Podcast. I'm just getting ready. I'm just priming the pump right now. We are sitting at the intersection of weapons, action, the military, and pop culture. It's good to be back with you, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Israel Wright, and with me, as always, is...
And I'm Cameron Fath. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
You're welcome.
You know, today's actually a pretty special episode, and I hope everybody has something to wipe their tears away close by, because today we're going to be talking about the greatest tear jerkers in pop culture. I'm not crying. You're crying.
Shut up. Don't look at me.
It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to sometimes let the tears flow. Mm-hmm. It's honestly empowering. I love to cry.
Yeah,
I love to
all
cry.
the time. I make myself cry.
I cried on the way here.
Yeah, I get people to yell at me just so I can cry.
Exactly. I mean, it's you. If you say you haven't cried during a movie, you're full of shit.
If you say I haven't cried during a video game, if you're like me, man, there's some pretty touching
oh
video
man,
game moments
yeah.
out there.
I've said everyone knows I'm a big Gears of War fan. Gears of War 3, cried during the cinema when Dom dies. That was tragic for me. But there's also a lot of movies on this list that have, you know, made me do the tough guy.
You're trying to hold it in.
Yeah,
man.
trying to hold it in. But I mean, hey, crying's natural. On a serious note, crying's natural. Sometimes you just gotta let it out.
It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of process.
It is.
Process it.
It's kind of like, you know, when the rain comes, it's been super in a drought, and it just washes all.
Washes you clean.
It washes you clean. It washes all the evil away.
Yep.
It's a purge. Crying is a good purge of the system.
It's just a way of getting the sad out of you, or the joy. Sometimes
Or the
people
joy.
cry
Yeah,
for,
people, you cry when you're happy. You
people
cry
for
when
any
you're sad.
and all reasons. It's kind of weird. It's not weird. It's normal.
It's normal. But you know, it's not normal. Crying during chopping onions. So that doesn't count. That
doesn't
just
count.
hurts.
You're a weirdo if you cry during chopping onions time.
You're just gonna move on because I cried chopping onions yesterday.
All right.
But anyways, man, let's get into this. Let's you know.
I like how
keep
you've
the banter.
organized.
I did organize this because
it's like categories of death, categories.
It is categories of tragedy and touching moments. Because I mean, we got some. I know you're a big advocate, or not advocate, but I mean, yeah, I guess you could say advocate. But you're very, prone and you're vulnerable for self-sacrifice.
Oh yeah, any time in a story where a character or characters decides to sacrifice themselves for their friends, loved ones, their unit, the greater good.
It's very
touching.
touching.
It's very touching. Yeah.
And I have a section here for self-sacrifice. I have some military sadness that we'll go over. I just got some just plain sad movies that have nothing to do with the military, but some of them are just happy sad or just sad.
Right.
But I think to start this off on a strong note, we all can relate when a dog dies in a movie, right?
You just got everyone's attention. Right
exactly.
Now.
When a dog dies or an animal dies, like
stop,
an animal.
Okay. I just want everybody to stop. You're listening to this in your living room. I want you to look over at that dog or cat. Look at him. Look at him in the eyes. Mm-hmm. You know what we're talking about.
It's a piece of you. It's part of your family. It's just as important as your parents or as your grandparents or your children, your cousins. It's part of the family. And I have some dog deaths that deserve some recognition because they've either made me cry. I'm about to start crying. No, I'm kidding. But let's just go into this, man. So the first dog, the first faithful companion I want to mention is Sam from I'm Legend.
I'm Legend, yep.
That one was a gut wrencher.
What I liked about the way that they did this that's different from the book is in the book he finds a dog halfway through the story.
Oh, really?
And it only takes about a chapter for the dog to be gone. Like he finds it. It's like a way of connection. It's hurt already. He tries to nurse it, and then it just says, and 2 weeks later, the dog was gone. So in the movie with Will Smith, he's actually the family dog, and he's been with him for a long. He's like hunts with him.
Yeah,
and,
in the flashbacks when he's putting his family on the helicopter, that unfortunately goes down because of the what are they zombies? What they're vampires or something?
It's a vampiric kind of thing. It's like a zombie. They're zombie vampires basically.
Yeah, but his family goes down in the chopper, and they give him the dog at the time is a puppy. It's a little German Shepherd puppy.
Yep.
Sam, I am. And you can see it grows, and he's companions with Will Smith. If that dog wasn't there, he'd be alone in all this. And that's like the key theme in all these apocalyptic survival movies is the character is always trying to find new people because they're just alone.
Yeah, isolation.
And the dog is the one good thing that happens. Like when he's cooking, when he's cooking his meal, he's making the really nice meal at nighttime. And the real nice meal is literally just for his dog. And then he eats some, the dog eats great. And then he eats some random like top ramen or cup of noodles or something.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. But like, for those of you spoilers, when, Will Smith gets caught in a trap.
Yes.
He gets caught in a trap and the vampires can only come out at night. And like, you see these vampire dogs sitting in this crevice, just waiting for the shadow to come over the building so they can go and attack Will Smith because he's stuck. And Sam, being the faithful companion, the man's best friend he is, goes and saves Will Smith from these attack dogs. And in the mix, he ends up getting bit. He successfully saves Will Smith. But in the process, he gets bit, and Will Smith has to put him down.
He doesn't. He doesn't just put him down. He holds him as the dog's turning, and he kind of just strangles him to death. So it's not just like
it's like a
it's
embrace.
not like a shot he gives him, but yeah, he's embracing him and he's squeezing him and he's actually physically choking him to death because otherwise he's turning on him.
Yeah, and Will Smith you can see the pain in his eyes.
Yeah,
and that was a gun.
They hold that shot. They did a really good job. I think it's
a
one shot. It's a solid shot of him just being there, and you can see him crying, and like you can see the dog struggling underneath just off camera, and it's a very powerful.
It's a very powerful moment.
It's the best part of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It's the best, and it's the most powerful, but it's the saddest part of the movie. But anyways, we got a long list here. So the next dog I want to talk about. This isn't a military movie at all. This is just, man's best friend, Marley, from Marley and Me.
That's Owen Wilson, Jennifer Aniston. I have not actually seen this movie. My excuse is that it came out in 2008 and I was in Iraq at the time.
Okay,
so.
Good excuse, but it's an excuse nonetheless. But that's a great movie. I mean, I had you watch a little clip of it, and we were sitting here tearing up, and I had to go take a break.
Yeah, just the clip is very touching. I'm sure
there was no backstory to after the story, it makes it way more powerful because literally Marley's part of the family. I mean, they get the dog. It's because you can see the progression of like their marriage, and they're having. Then eventually they have kids and they go through their problems, but the dog is always there. Like the environment's constantly changing. They get a new house. They like obviously move twice, I believe, but the only thing that doesn't change is Marley. And Marley's classic American golden or lab, right? The white lab, and he's a pain in the ass. He's the one thing he is a guaranteed pain in the ass. He makes a mess. He always gets into the biggest predicaments. But as he grows old and he finally reaches where they got to put him down. And Owen Wilson has this very powerful moment where he's just like, you were a good dog. He's like, despite everything that happened, you were the best dog ever. And Marley's just sitting there on the table, just in old age, dying. Mm-hmm. And here we go. Here come the waterworks.
And you got...
Yeah. Oh, man. That movie had me crying like a little bitch, dude. I mean, most of the movies on this list had me crying like a little bitch. But Marley and Me, great dog companion, man's best friend. The next one on the list.
Yes.
You can probably tell me a little bit about this because I know you've seen Dancing with Wolves.
Yeah, it's a classic. Two Socks.
Two Socks, the wolf companion.
He's got the little fur on his paws to make him look like he's wearing socks.
Yeah.
What I love about, they do a good job of, they introduce Two Socks pretty fairly early on. And, Kevin Costner's character's out there. He's in an outpost that's like deep in kind of the frontier enemy, not enemy, but Indian territory.
Yeah.
So he's alone, and so this dog it's almost like a wild dog or something like that.
Yeah, it's a wolf.
A wolf. Okay,
it is a wolf.
And he slowly befriends the dog. And the movie itself is an epic. It's like 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's a long. Dances with Wolves is a long movie.
Yeah. And they, and that's actually kind of where he gets his name, Dances with Wolves, is because the Indians are looking at him, watching him from a distance, and he's trying to shoo away this dog. He's kind of playing with him, and he's running around chasing the dog, and they're like, oh, you're Dances with Wolves. That's how he gets his name.
Nice.
And then the time goes on, then more American troops show up, and they kind of take over the base, and they see his journal, and they think he's a traitor because he's writing about his relationship with the Native Americans.
Yeah, because he almost, I don't want to say infiltrate is a bad word. I don't want to say infiltrate to describe this, but he doesn't. He befriends.
He befriends. Yeah,
and
he builds a relationship.
Yeah, he builds a relationship with the natives, and he becomes one of them. Yeah. And then the American revolutionaries move in, and they're fighting obviously with the Native Americans and the Indians, and they're in that constant struggle because it's during the is it the French and Indian War or
no it's much later than that. It's after the Civil War.
It's after the Civil War.
Yeah, and it's a kind of the American expansion west, and it's kind of a commentary, I think, a little bit about kind of the disappearing of the Native American peoples as kind of as American civilization kind of pushes in, and that's kind of what that's one of the themes of the story, but I forget exactly what was going on, but like the dog actually, Two Socks actually saves his life. Like he gets knocked in the head or something like that, and I think doesn't the dog like grab him with his his jaws, and like
I think he pulls him,
and then the dog or the wolf gets shot with an arrow and hurt, and he continues to pull him out of danger.
Yeah, man's best friend, man.
Yeah, and then the next time you see him, I think he wakes up and the dog is just there next to him, dead with an arrow in his stomach.
I thought. The way he's killed was he's kidnapped by the Americans because he's dressed in Native American. He thinks he's a Native American traitor because obviously white man dressed like this, he must be a traitor.
Right.
And as they take him as a POW, and as they're carrying him away, Two Socks is trailing them.
I'm thinking of something different now.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah.
Two Socks is trailing him. And Two Socks is sitting there right on the edge of this like little ridge line, this little divot that comes up, and the Americans see him and they're like, "I got him, boys! It's my shot!" So they're trying to kill the dog. And you said it was Kevin Costner?
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, so Kevin Costner's character is like kind of knocked out, but he's coming to, and he's realizing that they're shooting at Two Socks, and then he obviously knocks one of the guys on the ground and gets him in like this sweet leg chokehold and almost kills the guy.
Yeah.
And they smack him in the face with the buttstock, and it's a great scene because I saw the scene, I go, oh, because it looks so good. Like it looks like you can see the buttstock literally just rebound off his head, and they end up shooting the Two Socks, and then they regain control of Kevin Costner, and then it pans off, and you see the Native Americans sitting on the other side of the divot.
They were right
there.
They're
watching. They were right there, and then it pans off, and you see Two Socks laying there, dead. And watching that was painful because that dog. It's the relationship. Yeah. Obviously, he wants to stay with his companion, and he kind of like. Even though he's a dog, he still tried to save his life, and he ended up paying the ultimate price.
He wouldn't run away. Like he was going there for him.
Yeah, that's his best friend. He's gonna die trying to save him.
So for those listening in, let me know what I'm referencing about somebody getting dragged off, and then the dog like getting an arrow pulling his master away. That's another movie that I totally misreferenced, but let me know what that is.
Is that Revenant? Is that Revenant? Does he got a dog in Revenant?
No, it's a very specific thing where there's like a battle going on. And the dog is pulling him away. He's his companion, and then the dog gets hit with an arrow on the side.
I think the movie that you're thinking of is Beethoven.
No.
Oh, Beethoven Second.
Beethoven the Second.
No. Airbuds.
Airbuds.
No.
Oh.
MVP.
Airbuds 2. No. I'm gonna keep saying really
Beethoven's
wrong
third,
guesses.
Fourth,
all right, people, you have a duty to fill us in on what movie this is. Let us know.
Someone's gonna get that.
Someone's gonna get it. But anyways. We'll move on to the last dog I have on this list. And I mean, this dog is short-lived, but I mean, it's what comes after his death is completely appropriate, and I think any of us would do the same exact thing.
Yes, it's almost like a version of like Taken. It's like, of course we would do whatever necessary, whatever.
And the dog we were talking about is Daisy from John Wick, the little puppy dog that his late wife ends up giving him
As like a way to cope and recover from her death.
Exactly.
She knew she was dying. So didn't she have it like delivered or something like that?
Yeah, she had it delivered, and there was a note from
there
her,
you go.
and it was like, I forgot what the note said, but it was like, I hope you can, find some happiness still. And Daisy, and at first he's just like, whatever, and then the puppy dog comes in his bed and like cuddles up with him and everything, and it's just real fast relationship build right there.
Real quick.
And then all of a sudden you run into, the Russian asshole kid.
Alfie Allen.
Yeah, and he wants your Mustang, and you basically tell him to fuck off, and then to basically get back at you for disrespecting him, he comes in, kills your dog, beats the shit out of you, steals the car anyways, and then when John Wick comes to, he sees the dog. Not only is the dog, they kill the dog far away from him, but when he comes to, the dog managed to drag its bloodied corpse over to John Wick's side and dies cuddled up next to him. That was a tearjerker too, because hell, dogs, man.
I see. That's the thing is you have an inciting incident. It just goes to show the power that our companionship with dogs have. How everybody relates to it. It's universally relatable, no matter where you come from. We've domesticated dogs for like thousands of years. So that inciting incident has carried him through 3 movies. It has changed slightly as the movies went on, but it was like. And for 1 and 2, for sure, the whole reason why everything gets kicked off
it's because that dog.
is because of the dog.
And even though he replaces the dog with the pit bull at the end, he's just like,
the end of 2,
I'm back.
Yeah,
because of Daisy.
Yeah.
Daisy she re-sparks the light inside of him, and
the fire of vengeance.
And so, we can thank Daisy for 3, I would say, pretty good action movies.
Thank you, Daisy.
But thank you for your sacrifice, Daisy. But that completes my list for dog deaths. Man's best friend. Nobody gives a shit when a person dies in a movie. Let's just be honest. When a person dies in a movie, it's just like, oh, whatever. Cool, that happens. It's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But when a dog dies, just like a side note, like when the dog dies in American Psycho, the homeless guy died, it's like, whoa. Like he kills the hobo, but then he kills the dog, and you're like, "Whoa,
this
man!
Guy's an evil person."
This guy's.
If you ever want to put your character in the category of pure evil, you have them mistreat or kill an animal.
That's
a dog
one of the,
or a cat specifically.
That's one of the 3 signs of is like a serial killer growing up. It's like you start fires, you
kill little animals,
and you harm animals. I forgot the third one. Someone let me know what the third. I watch a lot of
kill
Criminal
your parents.
Minds.
I think that's one of the signs of being.
No, there's like 3 actual
eat frogs.
The third one is Beethoven.
Just
you listen to
Chris.
Beethoven.
Let it go, Chris.
Is that my Silence of the Lambs T-shirt?
Have the lamb stop screaming, Clarice.
Yeah. Hello, Clarice. But anyway, so that's just one segment of tearjerkers, and if you're not crying yet, you have no soul.
You're a heartless
but we're
beast.
gonna continue to drive this train because we're approaching our next stop, and that is Waterworks.
This is gonna be a powerful one for me.
Yeah.
This is the category of self-sacrifice, and every one of us right now, I'm sure you're thinking of a movie where a character has said don't worry, I'll hold them off, or it's okay, or I'm at peace with what and they go they brush into battle so that the other guys can get away or whatever. Maybe they force ghost project themselves across the entire universe just so they can have a stalling tactic and everyone can get away, but it actually doesn't really mean anything because he wasn't there in the first place. Why did they do that, Ryan Johnson?
What movie are you talking about, man?
You know what? The Last Jedi. But let's just let's just move on.
All right. Well, here I'll start this one off because I know you have a lot to say about these ones. Because obviously you just went off on some random tangent that I had no idea what was going on inside you. Maybe we can talk after this. But so everyone knows I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, and this self-sacrifice I feel is one of the most famous in cinema history, and it's Boromir's sacrifice in the Fellowship of the Ring. Yeah. Boromir establishes himself as kind of an arrogant character initially, right? He knows that Aragorn is the true king of Gondor, but he doesn't want to accept it because he's been gone, right? He's been a ranger doing ranger things.
And he's proud of his father and his people.
Yeah, for all the things that his father's done.
He sees Aragorn as kind of like abandoning that.
Abandoning him, and he sees him as a threat.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you're going to try to replace my father, the one that's done all the work for, for Minas Tirith and for the kingdom of Gondor. F*** you, Aragorn, you're not my king. But, Boromir kind of gets corrupted by the ring when he tries to take it from Frodo because he knows that the ring could give, Gondor the edge, and Gondor's been at war with the orcs.
Hold.
God damn, people dying out there.
Yeah, just drive safe, okay?
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
grief.
What if it's like right out front?
I get it. You're dying. Ugh.
Oh, it's not like it's a dog or something. Who cares?
Yeah, it's not Daisy.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. And Boromir kind of goes down a dark path in the beginning when he tries to take the ring from Frodo because he knows that the ring would give him a good advantage for Gondor because they've been fighting the orcs for a long time. So he's like, this ring could, end the war. So obviously Gondor gets corrupted by the ring because that's what the ring does. And he tries to take it from Frodo. And, it's not Boromir. It's not him. It's the corruption that the ring is like taken over his body because that's what the ring does, like I said.
Corrupts people.
And then after, Frodo puts on the ring and disappears, Boromir... He snaps too, and he's like, "What have I done?"
Yeah.
Frodo, I'm sorry.
Frodo, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And then when Merry and Pippin are running from the Uruk-hai because they're looking for halflings, and I mean, there's not a lot of halflings in Middle Earth because
like any one of them
Hobbiton
could have the ring.
yeah, Hobbiton's kind of just out in the outskirts, not a lot of involvement in Middle Earth, so they just see Merry and Pippin and they go after them. So Boromir springs into action to redeem himself. Takes out a boatload of Uruk-hai.
And then he even uses the Horn of Gondor. He blows that to kind of to call attention to himself and make everybody go after them. So
Exactly.
that maybe the other guys can get away.
Exactly. I mean, it's one guy versus 100 at that point, and it's kind of symbolic because when he calls the Horn of Gondor, Aragorn hears it and he answers the call. Yeah. So that's kind of a little bit of symbolism there, where he starts his journey back into his rightful throne. But, Boromir ends up sacrificing himself to try and attempt to save Merry and Pippin. And he gets shot like 4 or 5 times with the bow.
Yeah, it's great the way they do it. And the thing that I love about the beginning of that fight sequence is that, you can have a lot of different reactions to failure. You know what I mean? Like he could have ran away. He could have hid himself in shame. But he runs into the battle. Mm-hmm. Which is what, one of the most touching things about that. And then
he's not a coward.
Yeah, no, he's not a coward. He slips up, but he doesn't let that failure overtake him and define him. Like he's like, no, I gotta go in there. And you're right. He gets I think it's 3 huge arrows, maybe even 4. And up until that last one, he's still fighting until that point where he falls to his knees, and all the other orcs are passing,
just running by him.
This dude's dead, and then the main Uruk is getting ready to take him out.
And Aragorn comes and saves him. I'll be honest, Aragorn gets f***ed up.
Yeah.
But
it's good.
It is good. It is a great fight sequence. But then, Boromir takes his last breath and he's like, "You are my king," and he finally admits it. But that sacrifice was it was a tearjerker, man.
And he realizes there's redemption. Falling in redemption. The redemption story is like the story of mankind. Like that. That story will always be touching. And he does have a bit of a redemption at the end where he's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't see that the ring was kind of overtaking me." And, Aragorn was like, he's afraid. Boromir's like kind of giving up, He's like, the White City's going to fall. I'm going to see it burn, my family, my people. And, Aragorn's like, "I don't know what strength is left in my veins, but I swear to you, the White City will not fall."
Yeah, it's because men have always had faults. Yeah. And, we're not defined by our faults. We're defined how we correct our faults. Right. And that's how history is kind of, we've put ourselves here. Yeah. But, Boromir, I had to throw that on the list. Right. I know I've talked about Lord of the Rings multiple times. It won't stop, people.
I'll never stop talking about aliens.
You'll never start talking about Xenomorphs, and I'll never stop talking about Lord of the Rings. Yeah. But I had to throw that in there because I know you have some to mention. Let's hear him, brother.
Well, I mean, we got to get this one in there because it's Tony Stark from Avengers Endgame.
Oof. Love you 1,000.
I mean, yeah. I love you 3,000.
3,000?
3,000, man, yeah. Which I think was something that maybe one of the writers, directors had said. Their kid had said something to them like that.
Yeah, I think because 3,000 pounds is a ton, right?
2,000 pounds is a ton.
2,000 pounds is? Okay, well.
I love you. Maybe it is. Shoot. Now we got to get Chris to look that up for us.
Chris, fact check us.
Fact check.
2,000 pounds is a ton.
Okay, never mind then. I'm wrong.
I think, regardless.
A ton and a half.
The moment of Tony Stark, it's like the culmination of his character arc because he starts as the self-assured, self-aggrandizing, selfish. All the guys that we talked about in our Don't Be That Guy episode, he is that guy.
He's that guy.
He's super smart, super arrogant, selfish. And then, even in the Avengers, he kind of does it a little bit in the first Avengers movie where Captain America's like, "You're not the guy. You're not the guy to make the sacrifice play. You're not the one to take a bullet for your teammates, And he kind of does that a little bit in the first Avengers. But at the end, he has got so much to lose. He is the one guy that when they came to him with the mission, first of all, he says no because he's got too much. He's got a wife and kid now, and he's been living his life. He's got everything he ever wanted. and then you know, and he's got so much to lose, and but the one thing it's the ultimate self-sacrifice. He was like, for the good of not just the world, because nobody can relate to like sacrificing themselves for like the entire planet or world, but you can relate to sacrificing yourself for like your wife or your kid,
for
or
a
your
loved
brother
one,
or sister, for a loved one.
Yeah, because the world doesn't deserve anything better.
That concept is too, you know, you can't wrap your head around that, but you can make it personal. And so, you know, and that moment is so good when he takes the gems off of the one glove and puts it onto his Iron Man suit. And
I am
Iron Man, you know, and you can see it in his eyes, you know, that determination and that choice that he makes. And there was actually a scene that got cut out that I think it's on the special edition, but like, you know how when Thanos makes the snap and he goes into that kind of spirit realm and he sees Gamora, she's asking, what did it cost you? He says everything, you know, and then he comes back out of it. There was a scene where Tony Stark goes into that spirit realm and he sees his daughter all grown up. You know? And maybe we'll get that actress to come and do some other stuff. But anyway, they get to have a moment and stuff like that, and it's just really well done. And it's so touching because it's the culmination of 10 years of living with this character. And then you know, Robert Downey Jr. has said this as well. Like, he's like, I'm not coming back. That's it. He's dead. He's gone. Because it was such a powerful moment that it would cheapen that moment if he like got resurrected. Or
I mean, under the impression of like the Marvel universe, at least the one that I got, and you know, I'm not the biggest Marvel guy, but I mean, it's in plain sight and anybody could pick it up. And it's like the one thing with these superhero movies is they don't go anywhere. You know, they're the superhero for a reason. They'll be around.
There's a formula.
Yeah, there's a formula to it, and they'll be around. They're not going anywhere. They can make oodles and poodles of money just off, you know, the Iron Man series. I mean, there was 3 movies just of Iron Man, plus the Avengers series, plus Spider-Man, plus, you know, all this. And you think they're just going to keep going, and then, boom, devastation. He's gone. He's gone forever. And I just watched Spider-Man Homecoming, and, like, that's when he's, like, going around, and technically that's after Endgame, right?
No, that's in between. That's right after the events of Civil War, Captain America Civil War. He recruits him in the Civil War.
Well, which is the Spider-Man that Tony Stark's dead? And
Far From Home.
Far From Home. Okay, I just watched Far From Home, not Homecoming, and like that's where Mysterio's in.
Mysterio, yeah. Jake Gyllenhaal.
Mm-hmm, exactly, and like everywhere he looks is, you know, there's a bunch of murals of Tony Stark, worldwide influence.
Yep.
So like I was like, oh damn, man, he's like not coming back.
Yeah, I know, and it's that's such an important thing to tell in story. I know it's hard to do with multi-million-dollar companies and intellectual properties. So you want to keep perpetuating it.
Yeah, because
but
you want a return on investment, man. Yeah. It's all about money.
Right.
But I think they made the right choice.
I think so too.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into right now is actually a movie we haven't talked about yet on the podcast, but I think it's a really good movie because, you know, anything that has to do with like World War II's kind of time frame is really cool. I mean, that entire war was, you know, world shaping.
We'll never stop. We'll never run out of stories to tell.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the fact that it's not told from an American standpoint. Mm-hmm. So the movie we're talking about is Enemy at the Gates, right? I love this movie. I think it's super cool. It has to do with the Russian involvement in World War II.
Zaitsev. It's based on a true story.
It's based on a true story.
One of the most famed snipers of Russian war history.
Exactly. Yeah. So initially, and also if you played any of like the Call of Duty World at War, they have like a mission kind of very similar to this, where you know you run around with what character is it? Is it Makarov? No, it's one of the famous like if someone on this podcast, please fill me in on the name at World at War. He's also on Black Ops, I think, where he's like the Russian guy. Well, anyways, you're crawling through a pile of dead bodies because the Nazis came and just piled, right? And I mean, but that's in the video game. But in this movie, the intro is like obviously Russians. They're unequipped, you know.
Yeah. They've got bodies.
They've just got bodies.
That's what they've got.
Yeah, and it's like in the beginning they're on these boats and they have to take back this town, and they give one guy ammo and they give one guy a rifle. Yep. And it's like, you get a rifle and then you get the ammo, and if the guy with the rifle dies,
when the guy in front of you falls, you pick
up
the rifle.
The one with the ammo picks up the rifle. And like this is their strategy. This is Russian strategy of how to take it back. And they just send boatloads of dudes to assault this town, and it just ends up in a massacre. Mm-hmm. But through the slaughter, we have a lone survivor, and he manages, you know, to pick up a sniper and
It's
take
Jude
out.
Law, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, Jude Law.
I believe so. But then he manages to pick up a rifle and continue to take out a very high value target in the Nazi, and he kind of starts earning this reputation within the Russian forces of like the prodigal son, the famous sniper, right?
They make a big deal.
They
like
make a big deal,
propaganda
thing out of him. He's like the Captain America
Yeah.
of Russia,
Yeah.
right? He's killed this many Germans with his sniper rifle. He will lead us to victory. He's for the motherland.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, he's is there a Russian superhero? Is Red Shield or something, or
Red Guardian is the one in the Black Widow. I mean, there's the alternate universe Superman who instead of landing in Kansas, he lands in Russia.
Oh, really?
And he becomes like they call him the Red Sun or something like that.
That's
And
awesome.
he takes over the planet for the name of Russia.
Oh man, that's a good. I have to check that out. But
that gets the attention of Ed Harris's character, the German sniper.
The German
And
sniper.
They hire him or they get him to go in and find him.
Yeah, so the movie turns into a counter sniper operation, and Jude Law's character, and I forgot his friend.
I mean, Joseph Fiennes is the actor.
Yeah.
Who's there's Rachel Weisz, and then is Danilov the guy we're talking about? Because
Yes.
Joseph Fiennes' character, and he kind of does some backdoor dealing, and he kind of their friendship is strained and stuff like that. Yeah.
But I mean, it all ends up in this culminating event where they're basically pinned down by the German sniper's character, and the German sniper's character is guilty of war crime. There's a child character that's introduced that helps them in their when they're underground, and the German sniper realizes the kid's name is Sasha, and he finds him and he kills Sasha because he's like, "Oh, Sasha, I told you what would happen," and so he's like, the guy's obviously guilty of unhuman things. So they're in a standoff in each of them's like basically nest, and they have no idea where they are, and the only way to find out where the sniper is to see him, expose his position with the muzzle flash.
Right.
So Danilov is, tucked in a corner, and he starts realizing he basically puts it all in. He puts his heart on his sleeve, and he's like, "Look," he's like, "I've done a lot of bad things, and he's like, I'm guilty of everything, and I deserve what's coming to me, but I want to help you." And he's like, "Don't do it, man." He's like, "I'm going to show you where he is." And, he, with disregard for his own, he knows he's going to die if he pops out. So Danilov removes his helmet, and he kind of sits out in the open, and all of a sudden, boom, dome shot. Gets shot right between the eyes. And this allows our main character to basically see where the sniper position is, and he's able to engage and eliminate the German thing. But he wouldn't have been able to do that without this selfless sacrifice of his friend,
Yeah, there's that the redemption story. There again is it's like the moment that the character wants, even if they know they're going to die in the next moment. They don't necessarily want to live. They just don't want to be the person they were. They don't want to live under the guilt of what they've done.
Yeah.
So this is the only way they feel like they can repay.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I rewatched the scene and I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely a tearjerker, because not only do you deal with self-sacrifice, but you deal with making amends, you deal with personal relationship, like you said, the redemption factor. It all comes together, and even though he loses his good, or debatably his best friend at the time, he's able to eliminate the biggest threat to this monster of the Nazi army, and he wouldn't have been able to do it without the sacrifice of Danilov. So I thought that was worth a mention here. Enemy at the Gates is a great movie. Check it out. It's definitely a classic. I love it. I love that movie.
The next one is Independence Day, and was it Russell Case?
Russell Case here, sir.
Yeah, one of the what's this guy? I forget the actor's name, but
I got you.
It's Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid, one of the lesser Quaids. The good old Quaid with his YouTube channels videos. Anyway, great performance. Russell Case. He is a washed-up former pilot who does like crop dusting now, but he
lives out of an RV, right? He's a drunk.
His kids don't respect him, and he kind of has no purpose. And then when the aliens attack, he picks up everybody in the RV, and they all kind of end up out in the Nevada desert together. And then towards the end of the movie, the aliens they come up with their plan, and the aliens are also going to do their thing and blow them all up. So it's a race against time, and they need pilots. And there's a famous line where he's drunk the night before, and they're doing the briefing. They're saying, "Hey, we need people," and he's like, "I'm fly, I'm pilot," and and they get him into a jet, which apparently, all planes are the same, so he can fly a jet too. But and he had the whole thing of like he claims that he was abducted by aliens when he was younger, you know, and that's what messed
crazy.
him up. Yeah. But it's the end of the, you know, the battle's going on. It's not going well. They know they have to shoot the vulnerable spot is when the super laser opens up on the ship, and they got to get like inside that area is where they're vulnerable. Where the
but
laser
it's suicide, man. That's suicide.
Well, yeah, what it is like, you know, nobody's got any missiles left, right?
Yeah,
so
they're all gone because they've been doing dogfights with the alien
all
fighters.
day. And he's got one missile left. He's the only guy that's got a missile left on his plane, but it malfunctions and it can't fire, so it's attached to it permanently, and he can't fire the missile off. But so what he does is he's like, tell my kids I love them very much.
Tell my kids I love them. He's like, just keep these boys off me for a second, right?
Yeah, and they
Pilot, identify yourself. Yeah, it's Russell Case, sir. I told you I'd be good out here.
Yep. And they give him cover fire, and he gets right up down Main Street, and he's like, "Hello, boys, I'm back." And he rams himself in and blows up the.
And I mean, the sad part about that is his son is in, which would never happen. This random kid is in like
he's
in the talk.
Control.
He's in the talk, and he's like listening to his father's transmission, and everyone's just like, oh, and his son is hearing him say like, hey, "Tell my kids I love him," and he's, you know, even though he has all these kids, it's the same thing with the Tony Stark dilemma. Yep. It's like he has a personal life, but you know, he chooses to, you know, disregard all his past, you know, mistakes and his character flaws, and he's able to really just, you know, buckle down and realize this is probably the best thing for his kids is to live without him than, you know, have him around and just live a mediocre life. Yeah. Or just die by super laser. Yeah. So that's a pretty heavy scene. But I mean, Independence Day, there's a lot of comedic value in there. But I thought I'd throw it in there just because, you know, on the topic of self-sacrifice and something that you like, especially if you have a father figure and you're like, okay. Like one thing that gets to me a lot is like father-son stuff, and that's something that like always tears a jerk or tears a jerk jerks off a tear.
Tears of the son jerk, the jerking tears of the
the jerking tears. But on that topic, we can just move to just sad movies really quick. Pursuit of Happiness. I'm sorry, I had to mention. Chris said don't say it, but I had to. Pursuit of Happiness, super good. That one makes me cry. If you want to talk about like father-son struggles and like
Will Smith, and then actually his son. Jaden Smith.
Yeah, Jaden Smith's in the movie.
Yeah,
that's where he got. That was like the first movie he was in, and then he did Karate Kid, and then he became a weirdo. Yeah. But that movie is great. Just that's almost a self-sacrifice, like sacrificing his comfortability, sacrificing his, you know, his almost the scene where they lose their house. You know, he loses his wife. He just has his kid, and he does anything he can to basically provide for his child. And that scene where they have nowhere to stay. The homeless shelter is completely filled, so they have to sleep in a public restroom. And Will Smith is up all night with his foot against the door because he doesn't want his kid to like know. Like he tells his kid, he's like, "We're gonna sleep in a cave tonight. It's gonna be cool. It's like camping." And he's like foot on the door, and the guy's trying to get in, and you can just see tears rolling down Will Smith's face. And that one gets me so hard. Not like sexually hard, but that one like.
Right, because that needed to be said.
Yeah, that one hits me hard. I'm sorry, not gets me hard, but it hits me hard. Pardon my French, everyone. But it's supposed to be a sad. Yeah, I get boners when I cry.
You get really emotional.
Yeah, just ask my girlfriend.
You ever slap you around a little bit?
Yeah,
you know,
just have her make me cry, and then we have the best sex. But that's
it. It should be said.
It should be said.
Not that, but this should be said. That. We talk about self-sacrifice, right? But we think about it mostly in terms of a moment, like a character has a turn and they jump in front of the bullet or they jump on the grenade or whatever, and those are amazing moments. But the idea of a father sacrificing not just a moment, but his entire life, day after day after day, to give his kid a better life or to provide or whatever, like that kind of sacrifice often goes unsung because we don't. It's hard to see that in a moment of time, you know. It's more when you like look back at the life that somebody has lived and you see their kids and you know the what they've provided, what they've given up over the course of their life, you know, and it should be mentioned that there's a lot of heroes out there in that regard, parents and caregivers that sacrifice every single day, right? They go to work, it's a thankless job, they come home, they take care of the kids, they do it day after day after day. And that's it, you know. So.
Yeah. Side note. I mean, there's a really famous statue, and I guess this involves pop culture because art, right? And it's a statue, and it's a statue of a man. Oh, I hope this doesn't go on for a long time.
It's very loud. Let me see, because the apartment below Amy's is empty and they're renovating it.
Uh-oh.
Let me see if I can get a gauge of like how long this is gonna last.
I'm a make hay while the sun is shining kind of guy. So if they're getting quiet now, let's just record. We're almost at the end of this episode.
Yeah, I'm just gonna mention this really quick, and then we'll talk about the Outpost, and we'll be done.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Okay.
Then we'll go into the game.
Okay. Well, there's a pretty famous statue. I don't know who's the artist of this statue, but I mean, I see it over social media all the time, and it's extremely powerful message. It's basically a full-size man, and he's riddled with holes. Like there's a bunch. He looks like a cheese grater essentially, but then he's holding the hand of a child that's made out of what the holes are. So they took the whole, basically all the holes in the main statue compose this young statue, and it's just symbolic of all the sacrifice that the man makes for his son or his daughter, and that's basically what puts his son together or his daughter together. And I thought that's a great piece of artwork. I would love to have that in my house one day.
That's really cool. Man.
But anyways, man, just that was a quick side note, but I think we need to talk about something like the military sacrifice.
Yeah.
I have one movie here that I recently saw, and this one, it's a great movie. It's called The Outpost. It's
I have not seen this movie. I gotta watch this movie.
It's a great movie. So basically, it's based off a true story. The story is off of Cop Keating, right? So it's fourth IDs out there. It's also known as the Battle of Kamdesh. It was pretty much the bloodiest battle in all of the Afghan war. It happened in 2009. It's where 300 Taliban fighters basically attacked Camp Keating, and 8 Americans died, 22 were wounded, and 2 Medal of Honor recipients were basically made from this battle. It's the movie's really well done. It really does a great job of like what we all want out of a military movie. Action sequence, military uniforms are fucking perfect. The camaraderie in the movie is to a T, and it really highlights like what goes on in just like Afghanistan outposts where you don't have anything, right? It's just you're living in a whack shack with your boys for 9 months, and that's it. But the saddest part about this movie is not the battle itself. It's what really gets me about military movies is when they come back home. It's not the war itself, but it's the war inside of the people that they have to struggle with when they're home. And the scene that really got me is, in the movie, one of the Medal of Honor recipients, Specialist Ty Carter, he helps evacuate a bunch of wounded people, and he keeps going back under gunfire, and that's what gives him the Medal of Honor. And then the other one was Staff Sergeant Clinton Ramesha, I'm pretty sure is how you say it. But anyways, Ty Carter, he's the reason that I started bawling is because he ended when he got back and he was exposed to all this, and he had PTSD, and he went down a really dark hole, and he suffered with alcoholism, and he suffered with just like almost borderline suicide. And the part that got me is when he's like sitting there in the counseling office because his team forced him to get help, and he's sitting there, he's talking, and it's just like, hey man, I could relate to that guy because I've gone to counseling myself, and just the things where when you're exposed to that much stuff and you're exposed to that much loss, and you pretty much I put myself in his shoes, and I was like, yeah, I've been there. I've talked about the same things he's talking about to a counselor, and you feel like you're alienated because you've gone through all this loss, and you're having trouble adjusting to civilian life, and you feel like an outsider, and you think no one can help you. And it's just, that's what, if you want to talk sadness in military movies, you can watch people die in military movies all the time, like in Saving Private Ryan, all the guys dies, it's super sad, right? But if you really want to get me personally, it's when you have to deal with the complications after all that happens.
Yeah, that's
extremely touching. That's what will bring a tear to my eye.
Yeah. That's wild, man. We talk about the things that touch us. I have never, I'm sure you might have experienced this too, but like in the situation, in the moment, you don't feel a whole lot. You shut down, you do your job and stuff like that. But even afterwards, I've had a couple of guys, never like in the moment, but after I've gotten out, a couple of guys that I've heard have died, in combat situations, or even, family members and stuff, it doesn't really, like, I'll bawl my eyes out watching Boromir die on Lord of the Rings, but when I hear like a family member or something like that, it just like doesn't hit me. You know, it's weird. It's kind of a weird. It doesn't have that same kind of reaction.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree with that. Like, I mean, you get like a family member die or something, but it's you don't feel as close to your family as you do towards the men and women that you've served with, or at least in my opinion. So, you know, I remember waking up and, when someone dies in the 75th Ranger Regiment, it's pretty nerve-wracking because you'll get a notification like on Facebook or they'll put out like a press brief, but they won't give a name or a picture. They just say, member of the 75th Ranger Regiment or a member of the 2nd Ranger Battalion, casualty. And then there's 24 hours until they release the photo. And I remember when Leandro Jasso died in 2018, I got that notification. The next morning I woke up and I'm like, please, because I know my guys are over there, and I'm like, please, no, hopefully it's someone I don't know. And then I scrolled on Facebook and I saw Leandro's face there, and I just remember feeling just immediate punch to the gut, and like the tears started rolling. And it's just like, yeah, I was like, we hung out one time. We used to be on bus driver details all together because there was a few amount of bus drivers in Ranger Regiment, and it hurts. So like when that movie and they're in counseling, and I've talked about it in counseling before, of like how you feel when you see that, and when you suffer a loss like that, especially with someone, even though they're not in the same company as you still feel that connection to you because you both were airborne rangers, you both deployed, you both did exactly what you're supposed to do. And I could just relate to that. So The Outpost, if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's extremely well made. That I could not be happier with a military movie. Like, it's good. The Outpost.
I gotta check it out.
Yeah, check it out, man. It's great. But
one more. Do you say one more? One? No. All right.
Chris says no. Chris says no. Everybody.
What do you say we lighten the mood?
Let's lighten the mood, man.
Play a little game.
We'll play a game. We'll transition to the game. I'm proud of this one because I wrote it.
I'm ready.
So this one is for you.
All right.
And the title of this game is called "You're Fucking With Me."
You're flipping with me?
Sure, man. Whatever you want to say. I'm trying to get you to curse, but it's your world. I'm just living in it. But so in this game, I'm gonna explain to you a plot of a movie that may or may not exist, and you have to tell me whether the movie I describe is an actual movie that has been produced and is out, or I'm with you.
I love that you've done this a couple of times where like you really let the creativity flow, man. You come up with these whole scenarios. I love the whole like interview.
Oh, dude,
like,
it's a process. It's a creative
monster.
process. Like, the monster one was hard. It takes some effort, but the people deserve a good game. So I dedicate my time and my creative abilities. So, are you ready? There is no warm up. We're just gonna go running into it.
Let's do it, man.
And let me say, there are some fucking fucked up people who write movies and somehow get the funding to make these. Yeah. So this should be a fun game, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay. Are you ready, sir?
I am frippin' ready.
All right, cool. Glad to hear it. So, number one, a tire that abruptly becomes sentient in the middle of the desert goes on a killing spree in which it uses telekinetic powers to make its victim's head explode. Police attempt to find a way to stop it while a bunch of spectators sit in the desert with binoculars and watch the debacle. Is this a real movie, or am I f***ing with you?
Here's the thing. I don't think you're frickin' with me because it's too ridiculous. Like, it's just ridiculous enough to be an actual movie. Actually, I have not seen all this movie, but I have seen this movie. It's called Tire.
It's called Rubber.
Oh, Rubber. Sorry.
Rubber. But yeah, you were right. This is a real movie.
It's so absurd. It's just an absurd
I watched the trailer and I started cracking up.
Yeah.
Not the fact that like they seriously made this into a real movie. It's just the fact it is so stupid.
Yeah.
Like the tire's like rolling around in the desert and like it comes up on someone and all of a sudden the screen starts kind of like going blurry and then boom, head explode.
Yeah, just for no reason,
Yeah, it's because he like sees all these tires being burnt and it becomes like a revenge. It becomes like a revenge type flick.
I didn't even get that. I watched like 20 minutes of it and I'm like, I'm done with
this.
It
Came out in 2010. It was written directed by Quentin Dupieux. That's some French guy. Of course, it's the French.
Thanks a lot, French people.
Yeah, French people.
Jeez.
But okay, man, nice. You got that one. So you're 1 for 1. All right, ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right. So after losing his parents, a priest travels to China where he inherits a mysterious ability that allows him to turn into a dinosaur. At first, horrified by this new power, a hooker convinces him to use it to fight crime and ninjas.
Oh my gosh. Wait a minute, there's no ninjas in China. This is fake. This is a fake movie.
Fucking with you?
Yeah, you're frickin' messing with me.
This is a real movie.
What?
It's called The Velocipaster.
The Velocipaster?
It's one of those B films. It's been on like Amazon Prime for a hot minute. I actually watched it. Terrible. I got at least 35 minutes into it, and I was just like, this is a waste of time. This is such... Yeah, but it came out in 2018.
Oh my god.
Real movie. Okay.
Bad movies are still been there. They're the one constant in the universe. Death, taxes, and bad
The only thing
movies.
he's missing is Nicolas Cage. But okay.
Hold
So
on 1 second.
Oh. Is
That's
that
your neighbor? It's loud when you guys are talking. It's not a problem, but it might be. Does that come from over there?
I can ask him to turn it down if you want.
Yeah. Let's just pause for a second.
Give me 2 seconds. Let's go real quick and ask.
Velocipaster.
the Velocipaster.
When I was going through the list, I was like, I thought that they were all fake, and you just came up with these names.
I came up with one of them.
I know.
I was like,
I figured it out when I was like, oh no, that's like that.
Because coming up with that ridiculousness really took a toll on my mental ability.
It's tough, man.
It is. Honestly, I thought
Did you see I added in a potential name of the movie?
Hooker hit woman of Helsinki.
Helsinki.
In Finland. Helsinki. I like how you put the possible name.
I'm still recording. FYI, I didn't want to cut.
Just in case a fight broke out. Like, you turned out, you're
I don't know. This is why I enjoy like living in the house that I do now. Way to go.
What's going on?
He's got birds.
Oh, he's calming them?
And he was playing the music to calm them down.
Oh, so he's just turning it down a little bit. Okay, cool.
Okay. We're still rolling, so just go into the next one.
So that is the Velocipaster 2018. Hell of a film. All right, number 3. So you're 1 for 1, or you're 1 for 2, 50-50. All right, you ready for the next one?
Let's do it. I got to get that average up.
Okay. After a worldwide nuclear war, where 68% of the male population was wiped out and virile men became a rarity, Sam Hell, a scavenger and a highly virile man, is assigned to help rescue a group of fertile women kidnapped by humanoid frogs and reproduce with them.
What? The whole idea of like being the guy that has to reproduce. I mean, you got that show, Why the Last Man, that's out on Hulu right now.
Oh, is that where he just has to reproduce?
Yeah. Well, not just that, but people want him for all sorts of reasons. Some of the women want him dead. Some of the women want to reproduce. Whatever. But anyway, the frog people kind of throws me off a little bit. But I'm gonna go with my instincts. I'm gonna say yes. This is an actual movie.
Good job. Hey. This is a real movie. It is called Hell Comes to Frogtown. And actually, it is starring WWE superstar Roddy Piper.
Hell Comes to Frogtown. I've heard of this movie before.
Oh, the trailer is god-awful. I thought it was a soft porn at first. And I was like, I can't throw this in here. But then I realized it's just really raunchy. And it came out in 1988 where they were allowed to do this.
Oh, my God.
So, good job. So, you're 2 for 1. You're redeeming yourself on the topic of redemption.
At least 30%.
Okay, are you ready for the next one? There were 5 total, so we got 2 more.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, the next one, number 4. Doctors are forced to transplant the head of a dying racist surgeon onto a body of a black death row inmate.
A white racist surgeon onto the body of a black death row inmate. I'm gonna say that's fake. It's not deep enough. Not controversial enough.
This is absolutely a real movie.
What?
It is called The Thing with Two Heads, 1972. I encourage you to watch this trailer. It is terrible.
Oh, there's 2 heads.
He has 2 heads on one body.
Oh, man.
And there's a lot of racial slurs.
Oh,
it is
one of those you couldn't make it today kind of thing.
Oh, no, you could not make this movie today. It is ridiculous. Hilarious. The trailer had me rolling. It was hilarious. But yeah, man. The Thing with Two Heads, 1972. Look up the trailer on IMDb.
Have all of these been real movies so far?
Yes, they have.
What?
All of them have been real. Okay, and for the final one, are you ready?
If you are gonna go play against type, or are you gonna go the whole?
Oh no, you can play my game where you just have an instinct. Well, I don't know. Remember when Chris said in the other episode where he's like, "I'm just gonna have all real movies." That could be the case. Are you ready for the last one?
Ready.
Okay, and I hope you're ready at home too, because this one's a doozy. Number 5, and last but not least, A lonely after-hours janitor for the CIA stumbles across a foreign, top-secret assassin training regime composed of only Russian prostitutes. Now, an unsuspecting blue-collar Joe must protect his life from waves of lethal sex workers hell-bent on eliminating the greatest threat to their organization.
I'm going to have to go with yes. It's just so ridiculous. It's not that you're not a creative guy, but it's a pretty wild wazoo. I feel like you reached back for a lot of these things, some of these things. I'm gonna say yes, it's right.
I had to go back in time.
Yeah,
but no, this is my movie.
What?
I came up with this.
Oh, it's so
I
creative.
am f***ing with you. Let me tell you my thought process when I made this together. Okay, there are so many ridiculous movies out there. There's honestly, I could make a list of 30 because I just had to pick them. I literally just Googled wildest movies ever made, and I mean, after reading through a giant list of it, I had to attempt my luck of being a Hollywood B film creator.
You would have a great future in Hollywood B.
I think so. I also was going to put, he was wielding a flame mop, but like he put the end of the mop on fire and used it as like a torch. But anyways, possible names for this movie: Hooker Hitwoman of Helsinki. Thank you for that one, Chris. He helped me with that. Triple H. Yeah, exactly. Not Triple X. Not Vin Diesel. But cool, man.
Oh, man, that was great. That was great, Cameron. You're a very creative guy, and also all of you out there writing these movies are demented, sick individuals.
Oh, yeah, I know. The Hollywood needs to burn already. But cool, man. That was great. Awesome. You did great, even though you only got 2 out of the 5.
Well, I think we ran the gamut of emotions from the deep to the lighthearted to the sick and twisted. So
yeah, we cried, we laughed, we smiled, we frowned. And now all you guys have to do is tune in every Wednesday to a new podcast. We release our YouTube channel. Hopefully should be up and running by now. Should be every Friday. So tune into those YouTube videos to see extra content. And if you guys want to check us out on Instagram, go to pcfmpodcast on Instagram.
Right. Do you want to send us an email? You can send us an email at pcfmpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to hang out with me a little bit more, I stream live on Twitch 3 days a week. Go to twitch.tv/myhappyself. And
if you guys want to support my streetwear brand, you can find us on Instagram at KitGod Apparel. That's KITGOD Apparel. Or on our website, www.kitgodapparel.com. And as always, thank you for listening. Cue music!